Hi guys, so we're back with Daryl. Daryl is here to give us just a little more insight into occupation, because although people can talk about occupation, to actually see it at work is maybe something different. So Daryl, can you go into detail? Last week you came and you were teaching my son how to ride a bike, which for most parents you would think is very easy, but can you maybe highlight why you would use learning how to ride a bike as something for occupational therapy, and what challenges maybe sometimes autistic kids have when it comes to those type of exercises? Full circle all the way around. Yes, there we go. There we go. There we go. Go Jojo. Go Jojo. What? Yay. So explain to us why we are riding a bicycle.
Okay, so the idea is to try to help the child learn certain skills that would come naturally or which would need to be acquired, and the best way that children learn is through play. So, like activities like riding a bicycle would give the child an opportunity to explore their ability to, like coordinate their body, learning how to communicate, learning how to explore their skills like, gross motor skills, fine motor skills, their ability to judge, distance, and their ability to understand that, like I am in control of this situation. I have to pedal to move forward, and I also have to maintain my composure. I might be scared of movement, like sometimes a child's sense of movement, like moving forward and leaning, those things are things that sometimes come naturally, but they have to be explored. We can all remember like the first time we learned how to drive a car, and now it's something that comes naturally. You just don't really pay attention to it, but the first time it felt like it was moving way faster than it actually was. You look at the speedometer, it's like 20. It's like, oh really? It feels like you're going like so fast. So over time a child gets to learn to integrate all those different skills, and those are the skills now that you use in day-to-day life. Like communication skills. You learn that, oh, let's pedal faster, let's try harder, or slow down, things like that. The balance, if the child is confident in their own body, they can then be confident in all the other aspects of life. So riding a bicycle is a good activity that stimulates confidence. And
can we say that's also something parents can do at home if they can't afford occupational therapy? Yes, so a lot of it is also just looking at exercises you can do in and around the house. So in this instance, we were just focusing on riding a bike, but let's say if people are outside, what other activities would you encourage parents to do with their kids outside that maybe don't need money, maybe don't really need them to buy things? What other exercises would you say? I'm really big on like physical activity for kids, so maybe also highlighting the importance of physical activity for kids.
Yeah, that is a really good point, because like most of the times people think that therapy is something that's out there, but then you can actually have therapy at home. There's something that they teach us in college called therapeutic use of self, which is how you yourself can become a therapeutic being by just how you are, the way you handle the kids, the way you handle yourself in spaces, and how you handle material and things like that. So like let's say for example at home, sand is soil, is all around us, and it's free. You can just get some soil and you can actually just play with it. Fiddling with soil like really helps with those like tactile sensitivities. For example, a child who's never been outside before, if you take their little feet and you just run on the grass, that will give them that sensory input that they need. Or maybe you can just take them and you just spin them around. That's for free. You can just get like water that's free, like pouring water in different containers. That helps them like in terms of their fine motor control, and things like like taking leaves and just feeling them, seeing how different leaves present, sticks. So we're just surrounded by nature, and it provides all these different therapeutic equipment which we can actually use. And yeah, that is a really good way of thinking, because we need to start with the basics, with the things that are available to us. Things like flour, you can actually get some flour, mix it up, and it can actually be a very nice glue. So most of the things that are within our home environment can actually be used or recycled into therapeutic equipment. And I think we can actually do some videos showing that.
Yeah, I think that would be really good for some parents, because I think not everyone can afford it, but there are things you can be doing at home to actually make sure your child is getting the kind of care that they need. And something else you emphasized a lot on last time was the importance of playing with your kids. Do you think you could just tell us a little bit more about that? Why do you find like playtime very, very, very important at home?
As human beings, we are social. and the social skills we learn from the people we spend most time with. So as a parent, as you're trying to teach your child, the values and the morals and the principles that you'd like your child to have, you can actually do that through play. So I think playtime is the most important time, or the most important way that a parent can spend their time with their child, because it sort of like opens you up in a different context to your child. Your child gets to see a different side of you which they wouldn't otherwise see, like either at work, or maybe you're at home with visitors, or like you put up this parent front, but then during playtime all that goes away, and you just get to be clumsy, you get to be silly, and your child gets to see the true you, and that will build a closer bond between you and your child, that opens up communication, that opens up like self-expression, that opens up all these other dimensions that your child can now interact with you at a much more personal level than they could before. I think it's more, the kids want to play all the time because that's what they do, like that's their job, and it's more on us the adults to avail ourselves to them, like, oh, I'm a very playful person and I'd like to get to know you more, so these are the silly games that we can play, like maybe you can just throw catch, or maybe just running around and trying to catch them, or you can just like a silly pillow fight, or maybe you can actually just try to do some structured play where you actually get a proper game, like maybe building blocks, or maybe drawing, or maybe coloring, or things like that. But I usually recommend like unstructured play, which comes naturally, which flows naturally, and yeah, that's usually free at home.
Okay. And also I just wanted to say, let's say in Zim, let's be local. So in Zimbabwe, a lot of moms and dads both have to work, right? Because things are tough. So Wana a lot of the time are staying with the maids. What can we do to ensure that the maids are giving the kids the care that they need, or is aware of the exercises, or what can we tell an auntie to be doing in this occupational space?
I think that would fall under how, like, the handling of the children, like therapeutic handling of the children. So I know, like, kids can be a bit tricky and they can be tough to deal with, but I feel like if structures are put in place, for example, like having a schedule, that would be a really good starting point. Like, let's say you schedule some activities in the day, whereby you're like, oh, maybe between so time and so time, auntie gets to play with the child. Maybe take them to the park, maybe take them for a walk, maybe get to play a specific game. That's
just simple things like that, just going for a walk.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that really helps, like, help the child integrate, because if they spend the whole day indoors, then, like, they're on the screen, then, like, loading their brains with all that content. But if they go outside, that's when they get to spend the time with nature, like we're mentioning, getting to explore, getting to talk with the child, getting to spend time with the child in a non-structured way. I feel like that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Because it helps.
And I think, like, when you've got like autistic kids, they find peace and calm in such different things, so for a child that maybe you're struggling with, who's very active and very tantrumy, actually just going for a walk and I can actually help calm and soothe them down.
And it opens up all these opportunities for exploring therapeutic intervention. For example, like you're just walking and then you start pointing to cars. What car is that car? What is that? Is that a dog? Is that a cat? Oh, hi, say hi, say, like...
hi, Coco, hi, Auntie, yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, so with the speech now, you can now start to put that into play, as well as, like just getting to interact with them.
And I think actually you highlight a very important thing. I have a lot of people who just ask me, I need a speech therapist. But can you explain why you actually need the occupational therapy first for the speech therapy to be effective? Can you highlight that?
Speech therapy requires a child to be at a certain level in terms of like following instructions, in terms of attention, in terms of memory, in terms of coordination and endurance. There's a lot of learning, so there are various exercises that they do in speech therapy which might be a bit hard to do with a child who hasn't mastered self-integration or self-regulation. So occupational therapy helps, for example, calming the child down, helping the child orient themselves, helping the child integrate themselves, helping the child pay attention, following instructions, and all those higher order functional skills that a child might need to be able to absorb more from a speech therapy session. So people try to go for speech therapy before. Sometimes it doesn't really produce as much result as they're probably anticipating. But if a child knows how to play, if a child knows how to socialize, if a child knows how to self-regulate, they're in a much better space to benefit from speech therapy.
Daryl, so we just want a short definition of ADHD. Yeah, did I get it right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Someone asked last time, what's what does it mean, and also how can you identify it in a child? So if you can just maybe give people just a quick rundown on what it is.
Yeah, it's short for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, we're looking at attention, lack of attention thereof, that's deficit, and hyperactivity, which is a characteristic of the condition whereby a child is just hyperactive, like so much energy, is always on the go, never sits down, never calms down, or calms down for short time periods and then they're up again. They're either always jumping, running around, playing, and they're just generally sometimes in a good mood. The alternative is probably they will be in a bad mood or throwing tantrums or things like that. But most of the kids I've seen are probably in a good mood, just having the time of their life, but then they just never focus on functional activities. Like, oh, let's sit down and do some coloring. They can't do that. They just, prefer to run around and just play play all day. So yeah, in a brief summary, that's how I'd characterize ADHD.
Okay, and is the treatment for that the same as autism?
It lies within the same domain. Personally, I usually use play. Like we just try to drain some of that energy through highly engaging gross motor activities.
And I think that you need to elaborate on that, Daryl, because when you have kids that are hyperactive, the cure is not to say stop being active. The cure is actually to make them tired.
Make them tired, yeah.
Make them tired. Then they calm down.
So you just sometimes, get these bean bags, you fill them up with sand, and then sometimes you get to throw them or maybe chase them around, or you actually need to have a lot of energy yourself, because it's all about wearing them down. But if you feel like you don't have enough energy, there are certain things like, weighted vests, which you can put on the child, which are heavy, such that when the child tries to run, it's sort of like a little workout, so they get tired easily. Weighted blankets, there are little ankle weights and look at me, ankle little wrist weights and ankle weights that you can put on the kids, such that whenever they try to move, it's a little mini workout, so it helps tone them down. But most of the times those are on the extreme side. Most of the times, if you just give them the opportunity to express themselves,
even just a small jumping castle,
small trampoline, like maybe skipping rope, maybe running around, and that's what I normally do for the sessions, and then we can get to sit down and color. But within a short time period, they're up again.
So sometimes muskanzo is not muskanzo. It's actually
hard for the child to just focus, because most of the times what we ask the kids to do is probably not something they would like to be doing anyway. It's like, oh, go wash your socks. It's like, who wants to do that?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that definition.
Oh, you're welcome.